Hi there, everybody. My name is Chris, and welcome to my first OneNote Dungeons and Dragons tutorial. So let's dive right in. The first thing I want to do is give a big shout out and credit to Kryrid and Kryrid.com for him offering a gigantic amount of work in the form of a OneNote book download where he's compiled all the information from all the free supplements for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. So you can download that and get a ton of information. So definitely go check that out. It's great work. So, and all of that material that he gives is all this D&D 5th edition general here, and you can see that there's write-ups on like all the abilities, all the skills, feats, and magic spells, and everything you can find for free online is all built in here. I am going to be using some of this material. You won't be able to do some of what I do unless you have that installed. So do that first. The next thing to mention is I was very confused for a long time about OneNote itself. Everybody was raving about how great OneNote was. So I couldn't find a full version of it on the Mac. So it was one of the reasons I bought a PC. I'm kind of a Mac guy. So I get it. I get a PC and I start trying to get it, and I can't find one, or I find OneNote free, but it doesn't have all the features. I was like, where did the features go? Did they get rid of them? Well, it turns out if you want to be really using OneNote, you don't want OneNote, you want OneNote 2016. And you do have to pay a little bit of money for that. I forget, it's like $10 a month, or you pay a bunch of money outright and then you kind of own it forever. Personally, I think it's worth it. It's completely changed the way I DM. But just know that you have to search for, there's like no information. Microsoft is so bad about that because they're like, oh, look, you have OneNote, but you really don't have OneNote. So OneNote 2016, important to note. So, of course, as you know by clicking the title of this video, I'm going to show you how I track combat in OneNote. And it makes it really quick and easy, although there's a bunch of little quirky bits to it. So I want to kind of explain those. So I'm going to jump into maybe one of my books here. So I've got my Dungeon Master book, and here's where I keep all my different sessions and all different things that are happening. So we just completed session 13. But let's go ahead and build ourselves a nice new template on OneNote. So what am I going to do? I'm going to click Add Page. I click Add Page. We're just going to get this big empty white page. So what are we going to do first? Well, right now let's name it something. Let's name it Combat Tracker V3 because this is my third time trying to record this tutorial. So what is something that we might want to do? Well, I mean, right away, we can just click anywhere in this big old window and begin typing. So you see I got my cursor there, but I don't actually want to type. I want to insert, and I want to insert a table. So I can click on table. It's going to create this nice little drop down, and you see the numbers right here in this tiny little corner. So I want to make let's make a 6 by, 8. That might be too many. Let's go short so I can show you a couple features. So let's do 6 by 6. Boom, we make a table 6 by 6. Nice and straightforward. So we need to start filling out these different columns and rows. So starting in this top row, why don't we go ahead and start naming these? So I've already kind of practiced this, so I know kind of what I want to see here. I'm going to go ahead and type in turn for this first one. I'm going to leave the second one blank. The third one, I'm going to say player. Actually, I'm going to put player in this one. Player. I'm going to leave this one blank. And then I'm going to type in unit. And then I'm going to type in AC. And then we're going to type in HP. And I want to add some more stuff, but you see we don't have any more rows. But that's really easy. I can just keep my cursor right here. Click on layout. And then you'll see we get a whole bunch of features here. I want to insert one to the right. So, okay, insert to the right. Insert to the right. I added 2 more in. Cool. In fact, I'm going to add 1 more. So we were way short. So we added 3 more in there. But now what I want to add in here, I'm going to type in condition. And then I'm going to type in location. And then I'm going to type in notes. So that's kind of, maybe you want different ones. Maybe you want a different order. But, this is the way I've done it. So that's a good start. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this top row, and let's give it some color. I'm going to click on layout, and we've got our shading right here. So I'm going to click on shading. If I hold it down, it'll pop this open. I'm going to grab maybe this mid-green tone. So cool. We've got this nice little color. It's all laid out pretty nicely. Not too bad. So let's see. I've got my player characters, and they're pretty much going to be involved in every combat. So I'm going to pre-fill out their information here so that I don't have to do that every time when we go and make when we duplicate this for different combats. So under unit, let's go ahead and type in my players' names. So their character is Orin, and then we've got Aman, and then we've got Moloch, and then we've got Wajdi. Let's go ahead and type in their names. So that's Danny and Joe and Matt and Wayne. And let's type in their ACs. I don't necessarily remember them off the top of my head, but let's say it's like, actually I know his is higher. So let's say 20, and then it's 18, and Moloch's like a wizard, so he's probably got like 13. I think Waji's a little higher. Maybe he's got 15. And then their HP, I know he's got something like 40, and then Amon's got 41, and Moloch's got something like 35. Actually, he's got 30. And Wajdi Wayne has 35. Cool. So we've got those all laid out. We've got all the information. We've got all the basics. So in addition to that, I know I'm probably going to want those players' names to be highlighted. So when I add, other things for them to fight, it's easy to pick them out. So I'm going to select all of their names. Let's go back to layout, click on shading, and I'm going to click the light green. So I think it's just, visually it looks nice. Now, a couple other things. I might want some extra details down here. I'm going to very carefully click in the very bottom of this section, this little box, and then I can maybe even, actually I'm going to go ahead and copy the character names right here. This is row, copy it, and then paste it right there. Now you see how I get their names. And maybe I want to have their passive, their passive, I forget what it's called, but they're like their passive perception down here. So I'm going to type in passive, and let's say orange is 16. So cool, I've got that. And these are just like bonus notes I can make and throw them down here. I could also put in the chart, but I'm just doing this so, if I need to look it up, I can. So I copy and paste them. Let's say that's 12, and that's 13, and that one's 15. I don't know what they really are. So cool, that's all set up. This is looking pretty good for our defaults. I might want to go ahead and stretch this out to be the maximum of my page. And then maybe I can stretch this out so it's eating up more of this page. And hopefully this stretches. Nope, it doesn't stretch the way I was hoping it would. So let's do this one at a time. So I already know for a fact that we're going to want a lot more room for the unit. So I'm actually going to add a lot of extra space in there. It's getting a little twitchy there. Not sure why. And AC is fine. HP, I know we're going to want a bunch of extra space as well. And the rest of them, I guess we can stretch those out if need be. But I kind of want to see them all on the page. So I'm going to leave that right there. That's cool. That's our default. The last thing I want to do is, we get this big white page. It's really, it's hard on the eyes. It's cooler if it looks like medievally too, like some paper or something. We'll keep it simple. I'm going to go to my view. Yeah, I think view. And then under view, you see page color. And in page color, I can grab something like this light tan. And now we've got a nice yellowed background. I don't know. I think it just looks a little bit better. Cool. So now we've kind of built up a basic page. We know we're going to need this for every combat. So now that we've done that, let's save it as a template. So under Insert, we have a page templates we can click on. If I click and hold, we can click on a window, which is page templates. So I click on that. So now it's going to fly out this little tab over here. And now at the bottom, I can say Save Current Page as Template. That is what I want to do. So I'm going to click Save Current Page. What do I want to call it? I want to call it Combat Tracker version 3 Save. Cool. So now I can load these in as need be. So this just becomes like a preset page that I've built. So let's say I were to click over here onto, say, session 13, and then I want a new page. So I can click on Insert Page Templates. Actually, it won't be here right away. You have to go to your Page Templates, and then under My Templates, you'll see Combat Tracker 3. I click on that, and now it's added it directly in here. Actually, it's added it to the bottom here, but if I want, I could drag this up here, and now it's in my session 13 because I know that combat is taking place in session 13. Cool. And now that I've done that, if you were to go to Insert and I click, you see it'll actually be here at the top. These are all the most recent ones you've clicked on. That's what that menu is populated by. So cool. Now we've actually made a new one. This is a template. We've loaded it in, and we're ready to actually build this in as a combat. So here's where having loaded in Kryrid's pages is good. Is I can go and do something like, oops, I clicked off it. I can go up to my search bar here, and I can search for, let's say, guard. I can search for guard, and under guard, or wherever I find it, but like right here, I can click on a shield guardian or guards of the ward or whatever it is. But I just want a generic old guard, and so that's under. You can see it's under the 5th edition general monster category. So I click on that, boom, it's going to pop open a guard page. All this was pre-built by Kryrid. So I want to copy this information. So we got to be careful, but if I were to click here, you can see we get that little box that outlines everything all the time. We could copy that box, but I like maybe zooming in a little. If I very carefully go above this colored box, you see I get a little black arrow pointing down. If I click that, I grab just this box right here, and that's what I want. So I've done that. I'm going to hit Control-C for copy. So now I'm not grabbing that outer box. I'm just grabbing this I think this is a table with one cell. So cool. I go back to sessions. I've got my combat right here. Now this is a very, very specific but very important step. If I were to just paste this in here, it's going to eat up a ton of space. In fact, why don't we even do it? And so you can see what would be wrong. If I do that, boom, we've got the guard, but it's eating up freaking tons of space. We don't want that. I can hit Control Z, get rid of it. I don't want that to be there. So I go ahead and hit undo, so that goes away. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click my middle mouse button. If I hold down my middle mouse button as a button, I can scroll over to the right. Now over here in this blank space, I want to maybe prep something. So what I'm going to do is click. So now I've created what's going to become a new box. I could paste it here, but before I paste it, what I want to do is type in the word guard. And now I've typed in the word guard. I can hit enter, so it jumps to a new line. And then I hit tab, so now I've tabbed over one. So this becomes like a little subsection of guard. And now I'm going to paste. So I hit Control V. And now I have pasted in guard. Now, why did I do it that way? I did it that way because now, you see when I mouse over the word guard, I get this little arrow right here. So now I can double click that and look, it is collapsed down and we have this little plus sign now. So now I can hide that guard's information. So that is great. So now I want to copy that back in again. But here's another little quirk of OneNote. I'm going to do it wrong just so you can see it. If I were to grab this guard now and hit Control C for copy, and I'm going to middle mouse button and then move over here, I want to paste it here as the unit. But as soon as I paste it, boom, there's no plus anymore. What happened? It's a weird quirk where it's like OneNote doesn't acknowledge that this is a part of the child, like it's underneath it. So we need to trick it. So I'm going to hit enter to make a new line and just type in any character. I'm going to type in whatever, the number 9. So I can select both of those. And you see how like that information would kind of be in between those. Now we're kind of tricking it into copying it. So I can grab both of those, hit Control C with guard and your character selected. Go over here. Now I can paste that in. Now we've got our plus and we can go click on the 9, delete, and now it's zeroed out. We've got guard and we've got the little plus in there. Now, we might run into some weird quirkiness where the word guard disappears on us, and we'll have to deal with that when we get to it. I kind of hope it happens so you can see how we have to fix it. But the great part is now we've got guard in here, so now, and I mean, I'm explaining it, so it's taking a little while, but the normal process of this is very quick. But now we want to get the AC and the hit points out from there, so let's go ahead and expand it. So now we've got our guard, and we can see armor class is 16, so I'll click right here, type in 16, click right here, HP is 11, type in 11. And now, cool, we've got those, let's minimize it. Cool, the guard is done. Now let's say they're going to fight a couple of guards. I want to go ahead and copy and paste this into a new line. Once again, OneNote can be a little quirky with this, so here's the guaranteed way I think that will make it work, is if I were to select any of this, just like one of these boxes like that, or multiple boxes, whatever. Just grab that one line, and I'm going to go to layout, and then you have select rows, or a row in this case. So I do that, and I've grabbed the entire row. So cool, now I've done that. Now you would think you could just do the shortcut Control C for copy, but for some reason, sometimes it doesn't like that. So I'm going to go home, and then you see we have a manual copy button here. So even though it says we can do the shortcut Control C, sometimes it doesn't like it. So I'm going to click copy, and now we know it's copied. So now that we know that's copied, actually, just out of curiosity, I'm going to go ahead and paste right now, see if it works. Okay, so when I copied it, when I pasted it just now, it overrode the old one. But then when I pasted a second time, you see we got a second row of guard. It actually inserts additional layers as we do it. So Control V, and I'm going to add in a third guard. So we got 3 guards well, I mean, it's a little bit tedious, but now we've very quickly gotten 3 guards copy and pasted with all of their stats. Working great. I'm going to maybe scoot this over a little bit and expand condition because I want to see the word laying out, or not jumping to the next line. Cool. So why don't we do that exercise one more time, and we'll actually see if this breaks things, because here's where I keep breaking it as well. Now you see we've got the word guard here, and the word guard is also inside of its details when we expand it. So now I want to go search for, let's say, an assassin. We want to add an assassin in for this combat. So I would go over here to go search again. But now when I click up here, it automatically remembered that we were searching for the word guard. And because we were searching for the word guard, you see it automatically expanded all the guards on this page. So we're going to go ahead and ignore that. And up here, I'm just going to go ahead and type in assassin. And boom, look, there we see there's the assassin. So let's go ahead and expand that. So cool, now we're in the assassin page. We're going to do the process again, maybe a little quicker. Click that very carefully. Got my arrow, copy. Now, I want to jump back to the previous page. We could manually click on sessions and then go find it, but there's a cool shortcut. If you hold down Alt and then the left arrow one time, it'll jump back to the previous page. Very quick to jump back and forth. So I'm going to click my middle mouse button, move over to the right, and then we'll continue from here. In fact, I'm going to go and grab our 9 and just type in assassin. And actually, instead of assassin, I don't know if you guys do this, but like I very often will like palette swap one type of monster into another. So let's say that this isn't an assassin, this is a super spy. And I all the time I'll be like, oh, okay, these are bandits, but I'm gonna say they're pirates. But then you excuse me. But then you go and you just copy the information in bandit, and then you're talking to your players and you're like, oh, like, and then the bandit attacks, I mean pirate, and then the players are like, oh, it's just a bandit, like with this, that's messed up. And you're like, oh, dang it. So instead of having it say assassin, if I type in super spy here, I won't mix it up. So once again, same process. Type in super spy, hit enter, hit tab. We have to be tabbed over 1 to be able to collapse it. And now I hit control V for paste, and boom, look, we've got our assassin information here. Now we're going to get a little bit fancier. The guard is very simple. In fact, we even still have it here, and I kind of like keeping them over here if I ever want to copy and paste them in again. You can see I can expand that. And see we have the guard and we have the super spy. So but the guard doesn't have anything fancy here, but our assassin, our super spy, does. And all the time when I'm doing a combat, I forget about special abilities that the creatures have. So this guy has assassinate and evasion, a bunch of things. So why don't I go ahead and type these in? So I'm going to go ahead and type in assassinate, comma. He's also got evasion, comma. He's also got sneak attack, comma. He's also got multi-attack. I would forget that. So why don't I go ahead and type in multi-attack. Now, you could abbreviate these. I could just put in like the word sneak. I put the word multi, whatever, just enough so you remember. But there we go. Now those are all typed in. I can go ahead and collapse that down. Now, if your box is a little small, then it might like start looping that around or something. If you expand the box big enough, then that should be fine. And we already know that it's going to copy weird, so I don't want to go ahead right away, hit enter. We'll just type in some character, letter G in this case. Now I can select super spy, copy, and I've got the G as well. Middle mouse button, jump back over here. I want to drop this in a new line, but you see I don't have any lines. So we do the same trick we did earlier, which is click on one of these lines, click on layout, and I'm going to say insert below. It'll add in a new row for us. So insert below, boom, we got a new line. Right here is where the creature should be. So control V, boom. Super spy is in the line. Delete the G, delete again to clean up the line. Now I want the AC and the HP. Expand that. So this is 15 and 78. Now, something that's cool is this is like an individual assassin. I just pasted this in here. But let's say you're like, oh, that assassin is too deadly. Like, I want to make him easier. Like, I can just go and change that right here. I can be like, you know what? Actually, this assassin is worth 58 hit points. Of course, you got to adjust your difficulty class and all that. But you can make changes directly in here. And you could do it on an individual basis. Like each of these guards is copy and pasted. So I could change one guard to be more powerful, another to be a little less powerful, change out a weapon. Very quick to make those kind of changes if you're tweaking things. I'm going to go ahead and just dump this back up to what it was originally. Just keep it clean. All right, cool. So now we've done that. So you would have done all of this before the session ever started and before your players got there. But now your players have arrived. It's time for your combat. And maybe there's multiple combats. I can go and grab... actually, I can grab this entire window and I can hit Control C for copy. And maybe there's going to be 2 different combats in your session. So I can go down here and let's see. I want to make sure I click in the right spot. If I hit enter. Okay, I hit enter twice. I escaped out of my tables. I can paste. And now you see I've got the entire combat 2 different times. So maybe this fight happens 2 times. Or I could make different units here. Maybe they attack, they fight 3 super spies or something. Very easy to copy and paste from a previous session or from wherever you have. You just got your collection of guys. You're ready to put them in. So cool. We've got multiple combats. They're all ready to set up. So cool. Your players get there. It's time for the fight to begin. So you say, roll initiative. So they go and they roll. And Danny rolls a 4 for his initiative. And Joe gets a 19. And then Matt gets a 17. And Wayne gets a 7. And then a guard also gets 7. And then this guard gets a 5. This guard gets a 20. And then the assassin also gets a 7. So we got a couple 7s going on here. That's fine, though. Now, something, there usually when you're trying to keep track of combat, you would want to put these guys in order. And that would be kind of a pain here if we had to select it and copy and paste it and do all that. But something that makes it kind of nifty is if you want to do it manually or you have some special order in mind, you can go over here and you get the little kind of drop down arrows we were getting when we collapse things. But I can actually click on that. So Joe's got the highest at 19. I can click on that arrow, drag up, and then move him up into that space. So that's pretty cool. We could very quickly arrange these in order that way. But even faster, I can go and select this entire row. Now, what you see, I just made a mistake right there. I'm going to hit undo, Control Z. Now, what happened is I already had this row selected, and then I clicked on it, and as I drag it, it's actually trying to move it in a weird way. So you see it's kind of glitchy as well. So you want to make sure that you're actually deselecting and then drag. So we're doing this nice clean multi-select. But now you see I've grabbed that entire column. So now I can go to my layout, and now we have a sort button right here. If I click and hold on sort, we can click sort selected rows. So now I can say, based on column 1, that's column 1, I want to sort by a descending order. Boop. So I do that, deselect everything, and now look, 20, 19, 17, 7, 7, 7. So it's all in order, and you see these got rearranged. So perfect. That was super quick, easy to do. This could be 100 different characters, and boom, with one click, we get them all in order. And just to note, like, let's say, these guys rolled equal, so you're like, I actually want the guard to go first. So you just click there and you drag it up, and boom, the guard is now before the super spy. So cool, you were able to do that very quickly. So now combat actually begins. Things are starting to happen. So the guard rolls, and he's attacking Moloch, and you're like, well, you don't know what the guard does, but now you go and you can twirl down. It's not eating up a lot of space. You go here, you're like, oh, he's got a spear. You roll. He gets his +3 to hit. He gets a 17, and you're like, okay, cool, he's going to hit. And then you roll his damage, which was a D6 +1, so he does 5 damage. Cool, he did 5 damage. You know it hit. I'm going to collapse that down because I don't need it right now. Go to Moloch, and here's his hit points. Now, this is another thing I love. I can type -5 because you get hit for 5. And then, this is very, very important, and I'll explain why in a second. You want to hit space equals space. And you'll see that it automatically does the math for me. It has automatically done that quick bit of math. Now, I want to just clarify. I know we're getting the nitty-gritty here, but it's super important. You have to add that space in before you hit the equals, because if we were to go -5 equals space, it still does the math, but let's say the combat is continuing, and now you say, okay, now it's -9 equals space. It didn't do the math anymore. And even if we do a space equals, it doesn't do the math. It's very important. You can just type in minus without the space. So -5 space equals 36. And you'll see the difference here is that if you put a space, it puts a space. So put a space here in between the equals and the 36, which means this equation can now continue from that point. So now when he gets hit again, I can type in -11 space equals space. It continues doing the math. A very quick way of seeing exactly how all the math is going down. And then from this point, I could be like plus, he heals himself, so he says +6 space equals space. He jumps back up to 31. So I can very easily and quickly keep track of all the math. I don't even have to do the math in my head as long as I put that space in there. Very important. So anyway, we didn't do that much. It just jumps down to 36. So that's what happens. The guard does that. So then let's say Amon goes and he takes his turn, and he casts a spell on this guard right here, and so he casts a spell, and I want to go check his wisdom save. So I'm going to expand the guard, and let's see, his wisdom is +0. So I roll +0. He gets a 12, which wasn't good enough, and now he is charmed. So now under condition, I can type in charmed, and I can just kind of keep track of that. So I can remember that guard is charmed, and maybe that guard, you're losing track on your grid, and you're sitting maybe a little farther away, or you're behind the screen as a DM. So I could also be like, where is the location of that guy? I need to remember where that guy is, and I can say, like, beside door. Just something simple, like, oh, that's the guy beside the door. You look at the map, and that's the guy. Or maybe this guard is, he is the rightmost guard. Just whatever tiny little description you need so you can keep track of it. So that's working great. And then, you've got all of your, when you go to do the spy, you're like, oh, crap, he's got assassinate. So he gets to go, or he does an evasion. It's right here. It'll remind you that is the case. You put all your conditions, and then something, let's say Moloch now attacks, and he attacks this guard, and he rolls awesome, and he does 13 damage. So I'm going to type in -13 space equals space -2. Oh, -2. He is dead. That guy's gone. So I can type in the word dead there. I could also potentially maybe type in the word dead under condition. And we're starting to get a little redundant here, but even over there, I might forget, like if I'm going through turn order, and if you're trying to be as efficient as possible, what I tend to do is over here on his turn, I'll just type in dead there as well. So there is no way I can miss that. And if you want to really go overboard, you can go ahead and select this line, go to layout, and then go to your shading color, and I can maybe set that as like a red color. So there's no way I can miss that. He's red. That guy is dead all the way. So there you go. This is my layout for being able to quickly execute on your combat. It's great for having all the information compressed and tiny in this one little thing. You're able to keep your records like right inside the file. You can go in and see the stats of any given guy. You get the guard. You can modify it. You can twirl it down. You see all of your information kind of at a click, without it being in the way. Now, there are definitely some quirks in OneNote. You saw a bunch of the things where I was telling you got to do it this perfect way, otherwise it doesn't do it right. I've definitely had problems where it will forget this twirl down. Like, I just will straight up be like, oh, no, I don't want to twirl down anymore. And it's like, dang it. Oh, also, this blank space I put here, I put this blank space so that it's very easy to get to this plus sign. Because if we didn't have the space and this was player, then this plus sign might be over the player. It gets harder to click. So that's why I put this empty column here. But anyway, like this guard might just kind of disappear. I don't know if we'll be able to make it happen, but maybe if I type something in there, and over here I can type in something. I'm trying to trick it into breaking, and of course it's not going to. Do that. Oh, okay, there we go. I broke it. You see, I successfully made a change, and now it just disappeared, and my little plus sign is gone. It's like, why did it go away? I don't know why it went away. It's just a pain in the butt. Now that that's happened, I don't know of any way of fixing that except for selecting everything there, deleting, and then, copying it from another line, or even going back over here, grabbing him again, copy, move it over here, paste it. I don't need those extra letters. Boom, it's back. That's why I like keeping this over here so I can go and grab them again really quickly. It's just another quirk of OneNote. But having said that, like once you kind of got this figured out and you get used to the quirks and how everything works in it, like I think this is such a fun, great way of tinkering around with combat. So that should wrap up this one. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and throw in any questions you have. Although I am no expert, I'm learning this stuff. I've only been using OneNote for like 2 or 3 weeks now. So that should wrap up this. Thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you guys on another one. Bye-bye, everybody.